Okay. Today, for those of you that don't know, is the anniversary of the catch, the original catch, the play that started this dynasty that is the San Francisco 49ers, the greatest franchise in sports history, your San Francisco 49ers. But Sunil and I are not old enough to have been around for the catch. So we have our own moments, and I want to hear yours in the chat. Give me a moment or two. And I know that 49er fans come in all ages. So there are some of you that aren't that old, and maybe what you remember is only 10 years old. This is the biggest memory you have. But give me the biggest memory or two that you have being a San Francisco 49er fan. It can be a season, it can be a play, it can be a firing, a hiring, anything that you want. What is a moment that stands out to you, Sunil, as a 49er fan that shapes who you are today as a 49er fan?
Yeah, I mean, when you first asked this question, there a lot of things flashed to my head, but there's two that stood out that I wanted to share. One is more based off of the success, and one is more based off of just sentimental and just how much fun I had. So the first one is going to be the Super Bowl that I saw the 49ers win. My favorite 49er of all time, Steve Young, throwing 6 touchdowns against the then San Diego Chargers to win that Super Bowl in such a dominant fashion, having my favorite player have the biggest game of his career in the biggest moment on prime time, I think was just amazing. And to be a young kid, I mean, I was like 10 or 11 at that time. I think I was 10 actually. I was turning 11 that year. And, it was the first time that my team had won the Super Bowl, since I had been a fan. And like I said, my favorite player having such a big game, to me, that was just an awesome, awesome moment. But the one most recent, man, and I've had a lot of great moments recently being able, now to go to more games as I'm an adult. But my first game in Levi South, I went with, one of my best friends. He's actually a diehard Eagles fan, but he came because it was like a birthday gift type thing. And to see the way that the faithful show up in Levi South, to see that it was just all 49er fans, Jesse, man, I don't know if you've experienced it. I don't think you've been to a 49er Rams game at Levi South, but it is insane that it's hard to find a Rams fan. Like in the bathrooms, it's all 49er fans. At the concession stands, it's all 49er fans. The tailgate, it's all 49er fans. Like it's just a sea of red. And I remember the game that I'm talking about specifically was like right around Halloween or on Halloween. And there was a sign that made it onto the telecast as well. And it was like, Rams fans dressed up like 49ers fans for Halloween. And it was just, that's how much that the Rams just have to accept that they don't have a home field advantage in LA, that it's always going to be 49ers just buying up all of the tickets. And to me, that was just an amazing moment to experience it myself. And we obviously won that game, and it was just a fun environment because everybody's cheering for the 49ers, and you could barely hear anybody actually cheering for the Rams, even though it's allegedly their home stadium.
Yeah, the 49ers travel so well, man. What really kind of hammered that home, and I knew it, obviously. I think watching them march through the streets in New Orleans and taking over that stadium was a huge deal in 2019. But seeing it for myself in Pittsburgh this year, Pittsburgh of all places, because Pittsburgh is an AFC team nowhere near San Francisco or California, and also a historic team.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first game of the year, you would expect everybody's excited about their team. And Pittsburgh had a lot of expectations going into this year. So I would have expected that it would have been very hard to take over that stadium. Now, give Pittsburgh fans credit. It was not like a 60-40 split Niners by any means, but seeing about 35-40% Niners fans in that stadium, I thought was pretty damn impressive. Game one of the year against a historic franchise like that. So for me, that was really, really huge to see as far as the 49ers traveling. Now, moments wise, gosh, there's so many, man. You mentioned one of them, the Super Bowl. Little ancillary moments that stand out in my mind. Jerry Rice tearing his ACL, coming back that same season, having a phenomenal game against the Broncos and then breaking his kneecap. For some reason, that stands out to me. Garrison Hurst, 96-yard run against the Jets in overtime. Little moments like that stand out to me as well that I just kind of will always remember. What was that?
Raheem Mostert game against Green Bay.
Yeah, Raheem Mostert game versus Green Bay. But the two that stand out to me besides the Super Bowl, I mean, I think that's definitely a given as well. It's the only one I've seen the 49ers win that I can fully remember. But the catch two was huge because at that age that I was when after the 49ers won the Super Bowl, and then the Green Bay Packers kind of came out of nowhere. It was like, who is this team? It's the 49ers, it's the Cowboys. Nobody else should be this good. And Green Bay came out of nowhere. They beat the 49ers 3 straight times in the playoffs before the catch two happened. And in fact, they had beaten them 5 straight times, including earlier that season. In all the playoff games, they won by double digits. They were blowing the Niners out. They owned the San Francisco 49ers. And here we go again. 49ers against Green Bay, 4th straight year. You got the Packers rolling into town. This is the biggest deal. And I was not confident in that game. I remember being a nervous wreck watching that game. And T.O. dropped the ball umpteen million times. Jerry Rice allegedly fumbled, but I mean, I didn't see it. There was no replay. So as far as I'm concerned, he didn't fumble. That was a clear catch, held on to that ball. And T.O. making that grab in that moment, young T.O., before he's truly T.O., he was just Terrell Owens still, before he'd become that guy that we now know as T.O. and a top 3 receiver in NFL history. He was just Terrell Owens trying to make his way in the NFL, playing alongside Jerry Rice. After all those drops to make that catch, you see the emotion on his face. The call was the best call ever. Man, that's the one moment. So for me, on this anniversary of the catch, it's the catch 2 because that's what I remember. Catch 3 was also phenomenal. I don't think it gets talked about enough. But the other one, and it's interesting that both of these moments are very early on in the playoffs, and the 49ers didn't do squat after it. But still, the other one, 2003 playoffs against the Giants, down 24 points. Jeff Garcia leading the comeback. The long snapper. We say they don't matter. Tabor Pepper, shout out to you. But they do matter because the long snapper for the Giants was injured. They were up 38-14 with like 4:39 or something left in the third quarter. 49ers come all the way back. They win the game 39-38, but the Giants have a chance to win that game at the end. And Trey Junkin, their backup long snapper, a guy that they had to bring in off the couch essentially because teams don't have backups because their original long snapper was injured, snaps a horrible snap. They don't get the kickoff. There was allegedly a pass interference, but I don't believe that happened either. And the 49ers win 39-38. Those two, for me, are the moments that stand out the most. And the reason that second one stands out to me a lot is my dad, God rest his soul. We were watching that game together. He was upstairs, or we were watching it upstairs, and the 49ers were getting smoked, and I couldn't do it. I'm like, I can't be around anybody. I got to go downstairs. I'm going to watch the game by myself. And every single time that the 49ers scored, I would take a broom and I would pound the ceiling, like to celebrate with my dad who's right above me. Just celebrate and pounding the ceiling, like we got one, we got one, we got one. And when we won, man, I ran up the stairs so fast and like just hugged my dad, and he was so excited and I was so excited. So that game, the 2003 playoff game against the Giants, I will never, ever forget that one. That was a comeback for the ages. So those are the ones for me.